Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's Tips and Tricks call. Today we have a special guest, Eric Robert, out of Canada, here to talk about our MDR and our solution and how it can benefit organizations. And as always, if you have questions, please be sure to use the Q&A chat session, and we'll be catching up on those at the end of the presentation. Eric, I'll turn it over to you. Welcome.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you. So good day, everyone. So today we're diving into the world of cybersecurity incident response, one of the most critical challenges organizations face today. So I wanted to talk about the top risk for 2024. So let's look at the future of cyber incident to see if cyber attacks number will reduce or will keep increasing. So if we look in 2024, the top risk for 2024 were economic conditions and inflation, talent shortage, and cyber threat was sitting just at position number 3. So top risk for 2034, so in 10 years, cyber threat is sitting at the top position. So top risk, followed by talent shortage, adoption of digital technologies. So it looks like experts all agree it will be a top priority for the next 10 years. So looks like there is still some work to do and place for improvement. So let's start by having a look at the different roles involved during an incident. So in smaller organization, you may have many roles covered by the same person. In larger organization, you may find multiple service vendors that will cover those roles, and they will have to work all together, even if they are competitors, to make sure it's in the best interest of the organization to make sure that they recover in a fast way. So you will have to build, as an organization, you will have to build that team. And remember, this IR team is the lifeline of the organization. So if it's not a good team, your chances for failure are much higher. So you don't build that on the corner of a table. So those are all different roles. So on the left side, you have incident response team, like lead incident responder, also called breach coach in specific areas. So forensic analysis, so the guy that will be responsible to analyze all the evidences that are going to be found. So, and finally, security specialist to make sure that we understand the architecture, the security architecture, all the tools that were involved, and what is missing. So those guys will be there to help the organization and the teams from the organization. Usually you have other teams, so you also have like executive sponsor, IT operations specialist as well, cyber insurance auditor. So sometimes I've seen that many times. So the cyber insurer sends an auditor to make sure everything we're doing is according to the best practices. So they want to make sure the money they are putting in that engagement are spent correctly. So also you may have like legal and compliance advisor to make sure if you have to deal with threat actors, then those legal department are aware and they are giving their full authorization. So those guys are there as well, and you're gonna need communication specialists and business liaison as well. So all those guys will need to work together. So better find a good team and make sure they all work together, because it can be sometimes it can be a mess. So make sure it's a good team. So incident responses. So we are all aware of reactive services, also called retainer. We've been doing that for many years now, but today let's now explore proactive services. So the first 3 phases of a good preparation should be: 1, to create the IR plan. So on the left side of the slide, you have at the bottom the IR plan. So every organization needs to have an IR plan. So this is usually part of a much bigger plan, which is the disaster recovery plan. So they all work together, but the IR plan is really specific to cyber incident that you will need to make sure you are able to respond when something bad happens. So that is the first place. So you need to start by having an IR plan that is developed, and it's good. If you already have one, then get it reviewed by experts to make sure all items are covered, because there's a lot of items that sometimes are forgotten. So make sure you are all covered in this IR plan as well. Second phase will be playbooks development. So depending on the scenarios that will be chosen, we need to establish how the organization is going to react depending on the situation. It should be, it may be a ransomware, it may be a DDoS, it may be a business email compromise. So depending on the situation, you need to build a playbook and make sure everybody knows in the team what to do and how to react. So this is the second phase you need to work on. And finally, the third phase will be to execute a tabletop exercise and do that like in a recurring mode to make sure you're testing and validating all the processes and make sure that everybody's are aware of their role and responsibilities. So sometimes companies they have people that leaves, they have new people coming in. So you need to make sure they are all aware of their roles and all those roles are covered. So this is just being tested during those tabletop exercise. So we're going to validate playbooks and the area plan. Make sure that there's no gap in those development. In those playbooks and IR development. So once that is done, we can all agree that you are in a much better position in case an attack occurs. So you have a plan, you have the playbooks, and you test these like many times during the year, or at least once a year, to make sure everybody knows what to do and where to find the information. So these on the left side of the slide are all proactive services. I encourage organization to work on these to be better prepared instead of working only in reactive services like incident handling, root cause analysis, and compromise assessment. So a better preparation gives you better response time. So looking at tabletop exercise, so usually it's a virtual session that we're going to work with an IR lead. So this guy will lead the discussion. It's all scenario based. You're going to be testing your IR plan. You're going to look for your procedure, make sure everything is working well. You're going to identify gaps and save a lot of time during those sessions. So you're going to improve the way you're going to be reacting depending on the scenario. So this is a proactive preparation. In fact, is a good step toward saving time. So I encourage all organizations to do tabletop exercise as well. So those three items are really important to be successful during an IR cases. That being said, I want to start by talking about to highlight some mistakes, a few mistakes I saw during my career. So here's the list. I'm going to talk and get some explanation of all of these, but this is all things I saw that just add some delays in the treatment and the engagement to make sure we are recovering properly. So first thing here is start the threat actor counter. So what I mean by saying that is usually the threat actor wants to put pressure on you. So he's going to ask you to pay rapidly. Otherwise, it will increase the ransom. So you don't want to let him know that you are aware that you've been hacked. So as soon as you pass that line, the counter will start and the pressure will be on your organization, and that's not a good thing to do. So how do we start a threat actor counter? So those are bad things to do, so don't do that. But by clicking the embedded link provided in the ransom message, this is really a bad thing to do unless you spoke with your IR team and they told you to do so. But usually just clicking on that will just join you in the chat, in the chat session, chat room with the threat actor. So also sending this link in a sandbox or even VirusTotal to do an analysis, you don't need to do that. So as soon as you see that the link is in the ransom message, it's a malicious activity. So don't use that. Don't put it anywhere that you may like want to find or do like some analysis on your side. So don't do those things. So also deleting data. So logs, re-imaging a host ahead of time. It would just like delete data that are useful for the investigation. So doing so would just compromise the investigation. So also avoiding premature rebuilding will save you weeks of recovery time. So sometimes the teams are in a hurry to recover, and they start doing activities while they are waiting for the report, for the forensic report. So doing activities ahead of time is not good as well. So you may have to restart from scratch following the strategy that will be established. So also make rapid decision, again, without knowing the full extent of this attack. So usually making micro decision, I refer that to usually people will do what they are good what they are good at, and if they are good at managing the firewall, they will try to maybe replace the firewall with a new gear because a vendor was aware that they got hacked. So they will bring a new vendor in place, or might be a new EDR vendor in place. So by doing this in silos, we'll just do we'll add some more time, and we'll just complexify that engagement. So it is not helpful to start doing those things in silo. So making rapid decision again without knowing the full extent of this attack is not good. So, and not follow the recommendation. So this is not something good to do as well. So usually the admin will execute what is being asked by the IR team. But sometimes I've saw that they don't fully execute the order. They will leave open ports for specific activities because they don't want to shut down the whole environment. So they will leave some port opens, some links that might be left open because they didn't thought it was like that harmful. So by leaving port opens, it will just help the threat actor maintain his access. So, and doing that, when we monitor during the engagement, we will discover that, and we will see that we were trying to do the containment, and because those ports were still open, we are not able to attain the goal that we had fixed. So this is not good to do as well. So when the IR team agrees to do like to shut down the internet link, just do it and don't complain. There is no place for individual initiative during an IR engagement, so it must be orchestrated by the lead incident responder. So those are all things, mistakes that have been done that I don't want you to. I want you to take with you, but don't repeat that, please, in any situation. Also, I wanted to talk about requirements, specific requirements during engagement. So many people are not aware, but we've discovered that during engagement, and for some reason they didn't have enough disk space. So disk space, we need that for forensic. We need that for backup and restoration. We need that to get a system state validation. So that requires a lot of space. Also, sometimes we need to have a sanitization space to make sure that we are rebuilding new servers, new hosts. We're putting all the security tools, all the policies in place on that specific host. And once it's ready, then we'll move this to the production environment. So we need place for that as well. So sanitization space, new environment space might be needed as well. So keep in mind that having a lot of disk space is always good, or at least if you have an IR team that offers space for forensic that you can send the evidences, the disk image, and memory dumps like this, or logs. So this is all good to keep in mind. Also, I wanted to talk about the time to upload evidences. So it's a lot of data usually. So many gigs, many terabytes of data. So it requires a lot of time depending on the network links. So think about that as well. So sometimes you may be able to just upgrade your network links to speed up the process. But this has to be done sometimes in advance to make sure you're negotiating with your ISPs. Also, running the forensic tool will require time, even if they run like 24/7. So in those engagement, time is our worst enemy. So most of our customers I work with, we're always surprised about how long it would take. They are in a rush to just recover and go back to normal operation, but that is not possible in one day. So usually it might take like weeks, if not months. So keep that in mind. And usually when you're preparing with tabletop exercise, those are kind of things that will go through, and that it will just help you understand all the process behind. Also, you will need to have resources. So you require the people to answer questions of our IR specialists. So sometimes we need to validate some things. So you need to keep all those people that have the knowledge of your environment in place. So usually during crisis like that, people will tend to leave and quit. So you need to keep those guys, at least the one that have the knowledge. Also, lastly, you may have to get some new security controls in place. So you need to be open-minded toward this. Maybe because the reason why the threat actor was able to get in was there was a lack of security control. So by looking and investigating, we will be able to let you know what new tools you need to have. So it might be new WAF, new next-gen firewall, new EDR, new email security solutions. So, and all those, they have to be orchestrated in a single strategy. Also, prioritize work. So as an example, you may have like sysadmin that will be working on evaluating the situation and which server has been encrypted and which have not been encrypted. So if they receive a request to provide disk image or backup image for forensic, it has to be moved on priority one tasks. So they need to be flexible and understand that priority might change rapidly in those engagements. Also, to save some time, I wanted to provide some IOCs to look for before attacks or during an incident, so it might save you time. So here's a list of different layers of IOC to look for. To help you, I wanted to mention a few in each category. So remember, the first thing you need to know to be able to detect suspicious behavior is to have a very good understanding of your network. The tools that are used for encryption, the tools that are used for remote control, you need to be aware of those. So that way, when something gets in your screen, then you'll be able to differentiate if it's malicious or not. So if you see Logbit, Quackbot, Mimikatz, it's pretty obvious, so it's malicious stuff. But what if you see like AnyDesk, Nmap, or anything else that is like more legitimate tool that might be used for a legitimate purpose, but also might be used by a threat actor to deploy his payload. So is this a legitimate usage? You need to determine if it is. If not, then if you're not able to determine, please reach out to an IR team to have a second expertise on that. So recently we've seen a lot of those, especially AnyDesk was used for specific attacks. So they are deploying AnyDesk, and then from there they get access to the network, and then they deploy other stuff to conduct their ransomware attack or any other types of attacks. So keep an eye on those as well. So Active Directory might be another Active Directory security assessment might be another nice thing to do. Those type of assessment is actually evaluating the favorite host to orchestrate an attack from an attacker point of view. So you may want to look for those type of assessment, and especially if you want to look to the sysvol folder or in the scheduled task for signs of a compromise before calling the IR team as well. So this will help you with the this kind of assessment to identify and address security weaknesses. It will for sure make sure you're respecting security best practice in the Active Directory deployment. Also, I want to talk about the incident response process. So this is kind of two tracks. So the response track, usually when we respond to an incident, you have the response track, which includes the containment. So those are the first thing we're going to do. So containment, eradication, and later on long-term solutions that are going to be provided in the report. And the first track on top of this is the investigation that can be conducted in parallels. So first thing in the investigation will be, do we have a tool that allows us to do the investigation, or we need to deploy specific tools to get images, to get memory dumps, to get all the evidences that we are looking for. So once those tools are deployed, the incident investigation will start and may take many hours on this. So during that investigation, we want to make sure there's an active monitoring to make sure the threat actor is not moving laterally and trying to recover his access. So usually that's the incident response process that may be offered by your IR team. So make sure you have a good understanding of those that process as well. So a few takeaways for you from this session today. So IR team builds trust relationships. So you need to trust your IR team. So that is really important. That's why I encourage you to engage with those guys before anything bad happens. Keep in mind that proactive incident response service exists, and you should prioritize this over reactive engagement. Have your IR plan reviewed. If you don't have any as per today, then please have one created as soon as possible. Look for IOCs that I've given you today. So there's a list that you can find pretty easily. So if not, feel free to reach out to our team. So this is the outline number. So option 6 is IR. So, and you can reach out to our team with this alias as well. So emergency-response@checkpoint.com. So we will be more than happy to help you. So remember that first hour is always free. So if you need anything, any validation for those IOC, you can reach out to our team as well. So preparation is everything. So it's the difference between making decision in seconds or minutes during a crisis that may lead to chaos or higher cost to recover, or having to make the same decision in minutes, hours during a calm IR readiness session, and it reduces stress, pressure, and on teams and global cost as well. So thank you very much for attending this presentation. We will now answer some questions before closing this session. So Kyle, up to you.
Thank you so much. And I cannot stress the importance of the proactive approach. Having had conversations with many directors of different law enforcement divisions that deal with cybercrime, they constantly preach understanding what needs to be done before an incident actually happens. And having done this in, done this industry for so long, the worst time to put into practice what you plan to do is when something actually happens. So definitely test it, and definitely test it more than just once. As organizations grow, ownership changes hands, so you need to know who the new owners and such are. So definitely, highly recommend that. So, couple questions that came in. How do you ensure coordination between internal teams and and IR responders?
So good question, Kyle. So usually, if we are able to do that coordination during the tabletop exercise, so usually all the roles are determined before, so it's easy to know who's going to be in charge, who's going to be doing the collaboration side of things, and make sure everybody understands their role and responsibilities. So if you're able to do that in advance, that's good. If not, if it's reactive, then usually the IR team lead will be the IR lead responder will be the guy that should coordinate this to make sure everybody's working in the same direction.
Great, terrific. Another question. Can you provide an example of how proactive IR services helped clients avoid an incident?
Might not help avoid, but help reduce the time it takes to recover to normal operation. So being better prepared will just reduce the chaos, reduce the cost, the stress on your teams. So that is usually why we are doing those things. But even with that being said, during some specific IR or playbook developments, we were able to exchange information during those sessions that triggered some reflex from the admins that were actually attending those sessions, and they have better reflex on when they detect something. So the mean time to remediate is shorter, so that just reduce the impact on the organization. So those are the kind of things that usually during those tabletop exercise we are discussing, and then we are we bring real life cases to those guys, and they didn't thought of, so that gives them better understanding and better reflexes.
And I'm sure throughout the process, we're tweaking that playbook just as needed, if an incident were to occur.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep. Well, terrific. Well, this has been a great conversation. I hope everybody has enjoyed it. We will have our next tips and tricks in a couple of weeks. Eric, thank you so much for all the information. As always, we'll send out this session will be made available, and thank you all for attending today. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. A pleasure.